Hi everyone, Curtis Judd here. Had a lot of questions about how we do the lighting on the various recordings that I've done, and so this time I'm going to spend just a little bit of time talking through my very modest lighting kit and how I do that. First of all, in the background, I'm using just a black photographic backdrop and primarily a photographer, and so I had that for my photography purposes, and it works great for video as well. Haven't gotten into chroma key yet, but at some time in the future I'll probably experiment with that as well. I am using very simple lights. Here I have an example of a shop light that you can pick up at any hardware store. I picked mine up at Home Depot. This is just a small one. The ones I'm actually using here, the 3 lights, you'll see in just a second, are the same as this, except they have a larger dish, probably about 10 inches. And all it is a socket, a standard household bulb socket. I'm using compact fluorescent bulbs. In this case, these are 27 watt, which is roughly the equivalent of 100 watt incandescent light. Daylight balance, which helps make things a lot easier. You want to make sure all of your bulbs are the same color balance. So typically it's easiest to buy daylight balance and make sure you get all the same brand because they all differ a little bit. And I'm just using a very simple 3-point lighting setup. So let me show you that really quickly here. What you see here are the 3 lights, one to my right, one to my left, and one up behind me and above. The 2 here, typically you'll have a key light and a fill light. These are actually the same power in terms of the wattage that they're putting out. So I don't technically, I guess I technically have 2 key lights, and I get just a balanced lighting. Ideally, you may also want to experiment with maybe using a light on one side or maybe 2 lights on one side and a reflector on the other side to get a little bit more contrast and a little bit more interest. I've tried that with these bulbs, which are fairly, again, modest in terms of their output. You've got to work them pretty close into your subject, and it's really kind of hard to use one of them as a key light and one as a fill because the fill just doesn't work even with a reflector up very close. Or maybe I'll probably experiment a little bit more with it to see if I can have any better results. But for right now, with these bulbs, this setup's working okay. In this particular case, through the 2 main lights, I'm using photographic white shoot-through umbrellas, and they're standing on photographic light stands. Again, the lights themselves just have a simple clamp, and again, you can get these at like Home Depot or any hardware store for about $10 for the larger ones and even less for the little ones. I don't tend to use this one as much. The reflector's really small, and the smaller the reflector and your light source, the harsher the light typically. So this is really good if you want a very high contrast light. All right, so we're coming through those umbrellas. In this case, I've actually taken the umbrellas, which come with a black satin cover that goes over the umbrella, and that's typically used if you're going to bounce light into the umbrella and then back at your subject. But since I'm doing this as shoot-through, I also wanted to control the spill of the light. I didn't want it to go absolutely everywhere. And so what I've done is I've taken those black covers and left them covering about 1/3, close to almost 1/2 of the umbrella on the outer edges so that I don't spill light in those areas. And all I've done is just disconnect the umbrella cover from the spokes that I wanted to remove it from, and then just sort of rolled it up so I still have part of it covered. And that works, reasonably well. Everything's working okay for me here. We've got the hair light also. This is up on a boom stand, again a photographic light stand that has a boom, and I just bring that down to kind of separate the subject from the background, and it gives it a very just a very nice clean look to it. Obviously, again, as I mentioned before, you want to make sure you use bulbs that are the same color temperature rating, because if you don't, you're going to start getting funny color casts. And then obviously, once you do have those bulbs in, you'll want to do some experimenting with your white balance setting on your camera. In this case, I'm shooting with a Canon 60D, and I can dial that color balance in exactly by taking a test photo of a white object and then having the camera read that and use that as a custom white balance setting. Also, you're going to want to work with exposure. In this particular case, I'm shooting at ISO 800 on the Canon 60D. I'm at f2.2, and the shutter speed is at 1/60th of a second. So just to give you kind of an idea of a starting place if you want to start experimenting with this yourself. That's actually a good place to start from. Well, that's just a quick explanation. I hope that was helpful for you, and we'll be talking to you again soon.